good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Message exclusive podcast. And we have such a special guest today for this episode. It's actually a little bit of a continuation episode from our last one last week. If you missed it, we're going to talk a little bit about it. But this one's really special. It's near and dear to me. I'm going to share all the reasons why. But I want to kick off right off the bat and just give a very warm, special welcome to our dear friend, Tanya Koss, founder of Preaisle. Tanya, I have just an amazing way that I want to go with this introduction, just as far as so much I could say. I'm going to say a few things, but then I want to kick it off to you. But I just want to say, Tanya has been a dear friend of mine for many, many years. She's been a mentor of mine for many, many years. Now we are actually able to say that we are champions of this community with our businesses that you're going to learn about today, of why they're so aligned and why you can get value from our businesses and their shared goals and missions. But Tanya, at the end of the day, you're just someone who always brings light into a room, and we're happy that you're in this room with us today. Tanya, as I share you with the Mortgage Message audience and with the rest of the world, please, by way of introductions, just share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into this amazing, amazing vision and mission of Preaisle.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joe. I think the world of you, and I'm so grateful to be able to be part of this with you today. And so I am Tanya, founder of Preaisle Commitment Conversations, where I coach engaged couples to build a rock-solid foundation for that future marriage. I have been married for 32 years, just a few days ago, 32 years. So I kind of have an idea of what that marriage thing looks like. I'm married to my very best friend, and we just so much enjoy being together, and so many lessons that we've learned. So that's what I do, who I'm with. I have a great 28-year-old daughter, and so I've been through the parenting thing a little bit too. So that's a little bit about me. I live right in downtown Plainfield.
Well, and it's a great segue as I share this with the entire metaverse, and I share this with the world. And we encourage our audience that is watching right now to please go ahead and share this. We're going to be talking about, as you saw in the teaser thumbnail that we had, first comes love, then comes mortgages. And it's a perfect headline for what we're going to be talking about today. And absolutely shout out to the entire Koss family. I love them all. And what an exciting just kickoff to say 32 years of marriage, just got done celebrating it. And I want to dig in right off the bat, as you did such a great job of kind of announcing just a key component of what you offer to people who are either engaged, thinking about being engaged, heading down that path. And as you and I were talking in the pre-interview, family members that are surrounding these couples that want to give them a firm foundation, want to set them up for success in this thing called marriage, and being able to learn more about Preaisle and gift them this incredible gift of value. But Tanya, 32 years of marriage. Let me go back and just first and foremost say, I was so excited, and I know I'm not the only one in the community that was so excited when we saw you launch Preaisle, and what a moment of this opportunity in our market, in our community. Even though you could work all over the United States, what an opportunity in our community right here in the south suburbs of Chicagoland to be able to have someone, not just with your own personal experience of going through marriage, but also the leadership qualities, the journey you've been on, both professionally and vocationally. And I just want to just kind of kick us off by just starting off with that origin story, if you can. Just a brief portion of the origin story of launching Preaisle and giving us the gift of Preaisle.
Right. So this is my fourth career. So just trying to figure out, all right, what do I want to be when I grow up has been kind of fun. So I've been a teacher, I was in sales, I was in ministry, and so this is the fourth go round. And when I was trying to figure out what do I want to do next, it turned into this, all right, where have I been successful? And well, marriage is one of the places I've been successful. Mm-hmm. I love helping people learn about themselves. That's the best for me, is to sit down and they get to learn, whether it's an assessment or just talking through things, kind of like counseling or therapy, but not quite to that. More like coaching, I would say, is more of what that looks like for me. And so I can do all of these things, and I love sitting with couples about to be married. Now, I'm not a wedding planner, so I'm not planning any kind of wedding, but I can help plan marriage. And so that's where this all started. And as I was dreaming and writing down pros and cons to everything I love to do and don't love to do, this all just came together so beautifully. And so far, what I have been doing, I enjoy it every single time. Every single time I have tears in my eyes afterwards going, this is what I was meant to do.
Well, and what's so great about that segue is that anybody that's known you, anyone that has come alongside you, recognizes that you have that heart for people. You have that coachability to be able to help people see a few steps ahead than what they can see by themselves. And I know that from my own personal, connection with you, which has been so great. So what a great start! What a great start to this. Now, give us a little bit of kind of those first few steps. How has that been moving into this Preaisle business?
Right, right. So, first of all, I will say for anybody starting a business, my very first purchase was to be part of the chamber. That was the very first thing I did. Said I don't want there to be any other thing first. So that was the very first thing I did. And then being part of a networking group, thank you. I am luckily part of your networking group. And so being part of that and just making those connections with people and hearing from others in the community that, yes, this is something we need. And I don't necessarily have all of the newly engaged couples saying this is what we need, but people who are married, I go, oh yeah, this is good. This is something good. So really starting that out and making those really, I feel like good decisions on the connections with people and just knowing your community and knowing who's out there.
Well, what I love about that is, and as you are saying, shout out to the Plainfield Shoreward Area Chamber of Commerce. Shout out to Above and Beyond Networkers. I'm sharing that in those groups right now as we speak, which is fantastic. You gave me a perfect segue to do that. But I want to get to the meat and potatoes because I think it's just so incredible. In this moment in time, there's so many different things happening, and of course, we're going to bring this back and relate this on how first comes love, then comes mortgages. But in these few experiences, I have to believe, just with my own journey, working on the mortgage side of things, lending for over 28 years, I have to believe that one of the very much hot topics is the money budgeting side of two people becoming one, moving forward in this direction. And oh, by the way, at some point we should talk about how we see finances. And so I just would love for you to share with our audience just a little bit about kind of that experience, what that's been so far, and even get into some of the meat and potatoes of your amazing program and offering.
I think money is the number one thing that couples think they're aligned on, but aren't. They just assume that they are. And as an example, they might both say, "Yeah, we're both savers. We're great at saving." But one is saving and putting every single penny into a savings account or investing or something. The other saver is saving for a really great trip, to Paris or something crazy like that. So they're both saving, yes, but they're not on the same page. And so that's what couples are definitely learning, I think, is, we don't see money the same way. They weren't brought up the same way. You did not have the same parents that showed you how to save or not save or spend or not spend. And so what your upbringing looks like definitely influences that, especially if it's a young couple who have now all of a sudden maybe they have student loans or they have different expenses than they expected. So that's one for sure, is understanding that you don't necessarily see money the same way. So
Yeah.
no, I
What
was
what I was going to add to that was
yeah.
what I hear you saying is your program, your offering gives these couples kind of that might be the only space they've ever had to talk about this with an objective third party, with someone that says, hey, I'm just here to be able to reflect back to you guys. I'm just here to be able to shed a little bit of light as far as, how you guys can bring your two coexisting thoughts together to be able to have a firm foundation. And to me, it's fascinating because I've shared with you before in passing, it's amazing for me to be on the other side of the desk with a couple, and I'm seeing it play out in real time. But this is 7, 10, 15 years into a marriage where I'm going to every single one of them in my head. I'm going, man, if they only just would have had Preaisle. But tell me some of the hot buttons And I loved your analogy about, hey, saving every single penny for the future, and hey, I'm saving for an experience that we need to go on. I love that analogy. But give me and give our audience, what are some of the profiles as far as somebody that how does that get overcome is what I'm trying to ask. What are some of the ways that they can overcome that people have two coexisting ideas of how the finances might look?
Right. Well, first of all, is having a conversation. So much is there's just not a conversation to be had. So it's having that conversation. And so within Preaisle, that's our last session together, the things we don't talk about, money, sex, and spirituality, and making sure that those things are part of the conversation. So it's never, oh, now is the money talk. Now we have to do this, but it's just part of what we talk about. So overcoming that, the conversation part is so important. And then really understanding where their money is going. They work really hard. Whatever they're doing to have that income. And so let's make that money work hard for them and tell it where to go. Tell it where. Great example. I was working with a couple and they said, well, we don't want to be so tied to a budget that we don't have room for like whatever. I said, write that as a budget line item. Well, how much whatever do you want? Well, like $100 a week. All right, now you have a $400 a month budget line item and it's called whatever. And you know where that money's going instead of just, oh, I don't know how that happened. And so every single penny is allotted for. And we sit down as that couple. So three of us, here's your budget. Here's every single thing that you have right now. And then what are your incomes? And I also see couples, you can bring your money together and it's your money together, or you could keep it separate. It can work both ways, but it's so important, the transparency. There's no secret accounts. There's no trying to put some of this over here and you don't know about it. You're going into this covenant of being one. So your money's part of that too, and what that looks like together.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Certainly, both of us are in a bunch of different circles, a bunch of different friends, and I would say this about me and my friend Tanya. I would say we happen to just be the type of people that people feel comfortable coming and talking to, and so we get to have these conversations whether we like it or not. And I hear from neighbors, from friends, from family. Certainly, obviously, being in the mortgage industry, you talk to clients, of course, but it fascinates me how what you just said is so relevant in today's day and age to say, and I love how you presented it. There is no judgment whether you are that household that has a shared account fully, or whether you're that household that says, hey, we're going to keep things separate. Maybe we have a third account that pays the bills. But that last piece was so significant, and I don't want it to be missed, is that, but we're putting everything on the table. We're putting our cards on the table. We're sharing because we're growing together. And I just really love how you said that. I really do. One of the things that I think is so cool of this, moment of trying to find and connect with that couple before the big day. And by the way, just as a sidebar, could not have had a more fun conversation with our dear friend Nicolette out of Naperville for by yours truly. And she was raving about you, and we were talking about the conveyor belt that we're going to build between. We set them up with Tanya. We'll send them over to Nicolette, and then when they're done, we'll send them to Joe.
Beautiful.
It's absolutely perfect. And I bring that up to say, the first-time home buyer is such a segment of my business that's near and dear to my heart. I've shared this before. Certainly, you've heard my story, but I made all the mistakes for everybody that I don't want them to make, right? And I love sharing my mistakes because we're all failing forward. And one of those mistakes early on in my path to home ownership was getting a little bit over my skis, and then obviously learning from that, tremendously learning from that, and then being able to meet a first-time home buyer and have those budgeting conversations with them. The interesting part of that, why I think you are so valuable in our marketplace, is that truly, I tell you, by the time they get to me, even at the pre-approval stage, they have already built the rhythms of life and habits together that are so hard to break, that are so hard to be able to compete with, to say, hey, what if one of you lost your incomes? You're a two-income household. What if something happened? God forbid, but what if something happened? Are we sure we want to enter into this house payment? And so talk me through, it's kind of some of what that portion of the things we don't talk about. Give me a little bit more meat on the bone as far as you're sitting in front of a couple. How are you able to communicate those competing ideas? Like, give me some real world
Right.
examples here.
Right. Well, I think one real world example is that more couples are living together before marriage than ever before. In fact, I think I even wrote one down. It's from the Knot, either from the Knot or Zola, one of the two. As 88% in 2024, 88% of couples are
Wow.
living together before they get married, which means, yeah, those habits that you're talking about, they're there. They're making those habits. And so and it depends, maybe it's been for a couple months, maybe it's been for years, but if that's the case, then it comes into, all right, how does this look like now that you're married? It's not marriage itself, it's not just a license or a contract, it's a covenant. There's a different feeling of just what this commitment means. And so if they are, okay, we've been paying the rent, you pay half the rent, you pay half the rent, you pay the electric bill, you pay the gas bill, and now we're coming together, is it going to stay that way, or are we going to bring our money together and now we're together paying, especially when it comes into a mortgage? And I think for these couples, when they want to come to you, there's an excitement that we just got married. We don't want to be in an apartment anymore. We want to go get the house. That's the next step, because they've been living together and they want something new, right? There's something new and shiny after the wedding. Why not a house?
It's so good. It's so good. And I agree with you. I mean, I think that, you couldn't say it better, that there's that rush to jump into this next stage. And again, I'm thinking literally live as I'm talking to you on the show, as much advice and guidance and direction that I can provide in that moment. They've already picked out the neighborhood that they want to live in. They've already said, hey, we're going to figure out how to pay these taxes on this house, where, you are in such a critical point to be able to really give that guidance. It's so fun to just know you exist. So we were talking and we were sharing a little bit about, um, the program in general and how much value you've already seen it be able to provide. And the testimony to that is that couples that have gone through the Preaisle program have already started to be able to gift and refer and shout from the rooftops. And I just think, I'm overjoyed for you. I have such a smile on my face for you, because I knew it was going to be successful, but I'm sure there's a feeling on your end to say it's good to feel that reciprocation, that value wants to be extended by the people who just went through it. Above and beyond the money part for a moment here, what's some of the most other fulfilling parts of the program, and maybe by way of understanding to our audience, maybe talk a little bit about maybe how you segment them out and what that looks like. But I just want to know, my friend Tanya, what's some of the other parts? I know the money part's a big one, but what's some other fulfilling parts for you?
And I'm not a big money girl, so definitely it's the other parts that are so important to me. The ahas, the each time I hear, oh, I never thought of that, I just light up inside. That is so exciting to hear that. When we talk about listening and what good listening really looks like, or talking about conflict and how everything doesn't have to be this huge fight, talking through what that looks like. And yes, sometimes you do need space just to think. And I think one of the real fun ones is when I say, you hear, don't go to bed angry. Sometimes you might have to. Sometimes you need that space just get over it a little bit, and in the morning things do feel a lot better. So sometimes that happens. And so some of maybe the advice people have been given in the past, and then just to think a new thought. Yes, sometimes you don't need to go to bed angry, but sometimes, okay, we're going to call this until tomorrow. And just those little aha moments, and little tweaks to maybe the relationship that they just didn't see before. And what's so fun is usually these couples, they think they know everything about each other, right? You're like, oh, we know everything, and having no idea what they don't know. Because I know after 32 years, I'm still learning things about Rick. It still happens.
12 years in September, still learning about Candace.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and what I think is so cool about that, Sharon, I'm so glad you framed it that way, because everything builds on each other, right? If they're a good listener, if they're being able to have a different lens in a certain situation, outside of money, of course, that is going to spill over into the money conversations. They're going to be better listeners when it comes to money. They're going to be better listeners to understanding a budget decision. They're going to have more empathy with all these other pillars that have been built for success through Preaisle. And I mean, it's so rewarding. One of the things that I want to share with our audience that was so fun was, as we mentioned, Tanya and I are part of Above and Beyond Networkers here in the south suburbs of Chicagoland, which is just a wonderful group of professionals that add value. And Tanya presented for the first time to that group, and it was amazing to me. One of the things that I recognized, and this is why, I can't boost this interview enough, because it was the most Q&A that we've ever had in 8 years at Above and Beyond Networkers, because every single person in that room recognized that there are blind spots in their relationship, or there's blind spots in their understanding of their partner. And I was enamored by that, right? Because I'm a marketer, I'm a business guy, and I'm standing back and I'm watching the crowd and I'm looking at this room full of professionals, and they just wanted more. They wanted more. And one of the greatest things Tanya shared in that moment, when you know that she's hyper focused and very niche, which I think is brilliant in itself, but she said, "Listen, everybody, I'm focused on the people who aren't married yet, right? Like, you're not gonna book me out. There's other professionals I can refer to that." But talk a little bit about, and because I know you shared it with me, but just with the audience here, share your heart with, why is that segment so special to you? Before they go and enter this thing called marriage, why is that segment so special? Because your program is so relatable to every place that we are in our life, but that's the segment you chose. Just talk a little bit about that.
Right. Well, something that I noticed, as far as anything, like if you think of premarital counseling, what do you think of? It's either in a religious sense, so it's tied to a church or some type of a religious organization, or it's going to a marriage counselor. It's going to somebody who, oh yeah, we'll see engaged couples too. But there really isn't this lane for just people who are about to be married. Maybe they're not getting married in a church. They're getting married, in a barn, in a field, at the golf course. And yet they have this pull of like, we want to have this time together to get to know each other. We don't want to go see a pastor or a priest. And we don't really want to go to see a marriage counselor, because we're not looking to fix something. We're just looking to figure out who we are and get to know each other better. And so it just didn't exist very much. I thought, I could do that. And that's where I want to live. And yes, I had someone mention that it'd be fun to have Preaisle, and how for people who are empty nesters, they're starting on empty nest, and to get together, go through the same curriculum that I have, but as empty nesters. I'm like, that does sound great, but there's a whole lot more baggage there than Preaisle. I think I'm going to stick right to these newly engaged couples. I just get to live in love all day long. That's where I live, and kind of like it that way.
Well, and I think it's great. And like I said, after we were talking before the interview, after the calendar's booked up through 2028, we'll talk about scalability for the next iteration of Preaisle. But in the meantime, I know you're pouring into this community, you're pouring into couples. I really do want to talk about the aha moment of your business, so to speak, that has been, the mom, the dad, the grandma, the aunt, the business partner, the friend, the people that are beginning to catch the momentum of Preaisle in our community, the people that are beginning to, learn more of the value that's really being extended here, and saying, hey, you know what? My niece is getting married, or hey, you know what? I heard that my neighbor's starting to, just got engaged. And that being a gift that they can give, not just for the wedding day, but something that lasts so much longer. I don't know if they give China anymore on the wedding day, but that lasts so much longer than anything else. Just kind of speak about that aha moment for your business that you're recognizing in real time.
Right. Yeah, it's not just towels and dishes, right? Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So, well, I think people who are married or have been married understand the importance of it more so than that couple. And if a bride has to choose between her wedding cake and me, she's going to choose her wedding cake every single time, right? So this is such a gift to be able to give to someone. And so an engagement gift, you're going to an engagement party, here's your engagement gift. You know, it's such a beautiful way to say, we believe in your future marriage and we want you to get to know each other even better. And so, yeah, it is. It's moms, grandmas, friends. Those are the people who are reaching out to me and saying, I want to give this gift. And full transparency, 100% so far of the people I've met with, it has been a gift. Somebody has gifted it. There hasn't been a young couple yet who have said, yeah, we want to hire you, to go through this with us. Every single one of them has been a gift by somebody else, which I didn't see when I started this, that's what it would be. But yeah, it's so important to get to know each other so well.
Well, and I love the aha moments of business like that. Because to your point, that could be a whole marketing campaign. That could be the marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said, and this, again, just talking from the cuff here, but I think there's something to be said about, just that first initial introduction to Preaisle, that it's a gift. And I think people receive it in such a loving way. And to me, there's no doubt that there's going to be the one partner of the engaged couple that's going to find you and they're going to say, hey, this is for us. But you're not going to say no to Aunt Sally. You're going to say, oh my gosh, like, well, of course we're going to check this out. And again, I love it because to me it completely translates to kind of what is starting to pick up as a growing trend for the marriage, which is the gift of a crowdsourced down payment for the new home. I mean, look,
right.
we're not making it, not transparent. We know, the cost of homes are continuing to go up in our country. We know we've been riding in a little bit of an environment of high interest rates. We know that it's been harder and harder in that sense. And we're starting to see these trends that are crowdsourcing down payments. And again, I say, as it relates to Preaisle being a gift, what a gift that you can give somebody, the gift of home ownership through that crowdsourcing. And so I see it as being so relatable to each other. And I just think there's something there that is going to just continue to pick up steam where I'll make the bold prediction now, Tanya, that I know it's 100% today, but you're staying above 51%. I don't care how long you're in business. It's going to be a gift. And I just think anybody that's out there, it's my little call to action to you. Anybody that's out there that either knows of somebody or hears of somebody, that is in that season of life that has the desire for a firm foundation. You have a desire for a firm foundation for them. I can't say enough. So Tanya, really, in the practical sense, somebody says, okay, you know what? I just saw this interview. Joe interviewed Tanya. Man, am I excited about this? Man, do I got people in my life I want to share this. Give them a little teaser of what can they expect. They reach out to you. What can they expect as far as next steps? As far as how does the transaction look like? Please.
Right. So, well, next step is me reaching out to the couple, or they can reach out to me. Great way that's been done so far is just even with an email. Hey, I want to introduce you to, and just get us started that way. But I want to make sure that the couple is all in, because I did have a mom that reached out and said, I want to give this gift, and the couple said no. That was something that they didn't want to do, and so I make sure that with a couple, like, we're going to schedule this together. We're going to make sure that this is something that you want to do. I don't think it would be fun for any of us if they are sitting there, arms folded, mom's making me do this, right? So I do kind of make sure ahead of time that this is something that we want to do together, and then we'll email or we'll call or we'll text back and forth until we get that first date together. And I have a very flexible schedule, and so I can meet on those nights and weekends if that's needed, or right in the middle of the day, whatever works for the couple. But we'll get started with some conversation first with the three of us, making sure that this is something that they're ready to do. And Joe, I have to say, as you're talking through this, the gift registry idea, I don't know how much you've looked at the Knot and Zola. Those are ones that many couples use, but there's places for them to have whatever they want for their gift registry. It doesn't have to just be towels and dishes. And so on there, like, they can have Preaisle on there as part of their gift registry, just like they can have down payments for their house. Like, that could be right, and it just can be cash. And so many guests love just like, yes, just let me give you cash. I don't want to have to try and figure out what gift you want out of your registry, and they can put that there. And I was starting to think through this a little bit before we met on what that would look like. How fun. So I have a frame in my house that was given to us by my cousin. And if she were to come to my house, she would say, I gave you that frame for your wedding. 32 years later, that frame is from me. How fun to have on gift registry the front door, or to have the closet, or to have the guest bathroom. And now when your friends come to the house, it's like, I gave you that front door. I gave you that front door. No, yeah, in reality, it's all going into one big pool for their down payment for their house. But to really separate it that way is so much more fun than just like, yeah, give us money. But like, yeah, I helped you buy your front door. And how fun is that?
I'm going to tell you something right now. There's fireworks going off inside me as you are sharing this, because you are gamifying the down payment, which is amazing. To your point, and I just love that story right there. And I'm going to tell my marketing team that we're going to clip this, and this is going to be something we're going to boost, because how amazing would it be to truly create that trend to say that all of this equity of this home was built in little pieces by the people that were closest to us at the time that we got married. I mean, I see the vision of it, and I think, I said this on the last podcast. I said, you want to talk about being incentivized to be able to start this couple off the right way. Don't start them as being in renter prison. Start them into a home, but to be able to say, hey, that's that's the front door that we gifted you, or hey, like I Tanya, I see it in the lights, and my marketing things are going off right now. I think that could be a trend that would be so fun. As you said, like just people that can get behind it, and forever they're entangled with that home, and the excitement of being connected to that. I absolutely love it. Tanya, we could talk all day.
We could.
And I do think that we're going to have a continuation of this after the season. I'm going to put this up on the screen, and I really, like I said, I encourage our audience to absolutely, certainly give our dear friend Tanya a share, give our dear friend Tanya a like, and if you're like me, give a review of what this podcast has made you feel as far as being able to help the people in your lives. But I'm going to throw this up on the screen for you, Tanya, and I would just love for you to share best way for people to get a hold of you, best way for people to get connected with you. Go ahead and let them have it.
Well, that's one right there. So I'm on all the social medias, depending on what you like to be part of. So by all means, find me everywhere. Please do follow. It only helps out my channels, which is great. But if you want more of a long form, YouTube. And on YouTube, you can find the shorts there, but also more long form videos. And I will say this last week was the first time Rick was in a video with me. And he was pretty great, and not exactly what he loves to do, but he was so good. So head on over to YouTube, and that's probably the best way to find me there, or on my website, which is Preaisle.com. And you can contact me through the website too.
I absolutely love it. Tanya, you are such a dear friend. You are such an exciting person to be able to be connected with. The future is bright, my friend. And I do think, just the little ideas that we've had here, the little nuggets that we've talked about, I feel as though there is so much more opportunity out there for us to be able to share your message, and certainly you being at the focal point of kind of this journey of this new couple that's going through life. I'm honored to be a couple steps, after you, but knowing that we can send a couple your way to be able to guide them and start them off right, to me, it makes every step after that set up for success for them. And so I thank you for what you're doing in our community. I thank you for your passion for what you do. And the best is yet to come. I'm excited for what comes next. I'm excited for you. Any parting words as we leave our mortgage message?
I'm so grateful, just so grateful to be part of this. And I cannot wait to meet more people just because of this opportunity that you've given me to tell a little bit more about Preaisle. And I know that there are couples out there, and you're going to be connected to all of these couples because of this. So thank you so much. I love what I do, and I just want to keep doing it until I just can't do it anymore. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
There you go. Friends, Tanya Koss is the founder of Preaisle. Share it, like it, tell everybody you know about it. Let's set up this next generation for success. Thank you for being a part of another Mortgage Message exclusive podcast. We'll see you on the next one, everyone. Take care.